On the front page of the Business Courier this week, an in-depth look inside the $400 million Horseshoe Casino Cincinnati construction project. Opening day is still a year away, but the casino is taking shape in the northeast corner of downtown. What isn't so visible are the relationships taking root. New companies are being grown, and white-owned businesses in Cincinnati are working with black-owned businesses like never before. This is some of the first video shot inside the construction site, where workers are framing out the 100,000-square-foot casino floor that will hold 2,300 slot machines, 73 table games, and a massive circular bar. Detroit-based Rock Gaming was made economic inclusion a central goal of the project. At the project's start, Rock Gaming signed the Cincinnati NAACP Construction Partnership Agreement, agreeing to use its $165 million construction budget to build the capacity of minority and women-owned companies. Local minority inclusion efforts in the past have focused on hitting percentage goals for small business participation, including women and minority-owned. But the NAACP agreement introduced a new element to the mix, asked bidders to demonstrate that minority and women-owned companies were adding value to the project. That means the casino is the first major construction project in Cincinnati history that will be judged not just by how well companies built it, but how well it built companies. For more on the casino contracts, Business Courier editor Rob Dahlmeyer is joined by senior reporter Dan Monk, who along with Lucy May wrote the story. Gentlemen?
Brian, thanks. Dan, thanks for being here. For the last 15 years in Cincinnati, we've seen some massive projects, from the stadiums to Fort Washington Way, the banks, which is still going on. Each one of those giant construction projects had minority inclusion goals of some kind. We've got this $400 million casino project now where they've decided to do something else. What was wrong with the old system? What was it, and why didn't they like it?
Well, the main problem was that it wasn't building capacity in the minority construction trade. Year after year, you'd see companies win big contracts. They'd grow in size. The project would end. They'd go back to their prior size or smaller. In some cases, they went out of business. So the whole goal behind this project, the stated goal at the beginning, was to actually build companies to the point where they could compete not only for these small business contracts or the subcontracts that are awarded on the casino, but also for prime contracts and actually grow, add employees, and be vibrant companies.
So you and Lucy May have spent the last couple months really talking to a bunch of the companies and the new joint ventures that have been formed between white-owned and black-owned companies.
Yeah.
Obviously, as you're seeing here, the project isn't done yet, but what did you see so far?
Well, we saw some new kinds of business models being formed. I mean, Lucy's the real expert in this territory. She's been covering this for 10, 15 years now. And so we dug into how these companies are operating and found out that there are some really new things going on. In one case, a white-owned firm, bought a 49% stake in a small black-owned company, and they did that because they said they wanted to grow this company faster than it could have grown on its own. It's a really interesting experiment, and so far they've had some signs of success. They're $5.5 million in revenue last year. They could double that to $10 million this year, and they're steadily but slowly growing their employment. Their office staff is up to 3 or 4 employees now, and I think there is hope that a lot of these mentor-protege relationships are actually going to create new companies that are strong and vibrant.
You did hear a lot of optimism. I know that because obviously I've been reading your stuff over the last couple of weeks. But there are some risks, right? I mean, there are possible downsides for some companies.
Well, there's one company in particular we talked to who described these new joint ventures, these new business models as invasive species, and they say it's making it hard for real companies to operate independently and gain contracts on their own. We'll have to see over time, how this all shakes out, but definitely joint ventures, business partnerships are the way that companies are approaching this now in the construction industry.
Well, we're going to certainly be, I'm sure, keeping our eyes on how this ends up panning out before the casino opens. Thanks, Dan, for being here. Brian, back to you.
All right, Rob and Dan, thank you. And it seems that not all companies certified as minority-owned actually meet the definition of minority-owned. Because of that, the group charged with monitoring Cincinnati's latest economic inclusion efforts is pushing for changes in the way national organizations certify companies as minority-owned. Members recently met with top officials at some national certifying organizations to find out how some companies slipped through the process. The certifications are critical for the awarding of tens of millions of dollars in contracts for the casino project alone. Local economic inclusion consultants say they will meet on a regular basis to weed out companies suspected of being fronts for minority-owned businesses.